what we now know is government-sponsored, taxpayer-funded child trafficking.
Very interesting stuff. They don't talk about it in the legacy media, or our government doesn't like talking about it neither. This is something we have discussed more than once on this channel, you feel me, in the past couple of years, because we don't really see it getting covered that much, and it's a really pressing issue that should be being discussed. It's the rampant issue of child trafficking along the US border and across the United States. Why is this so prevalent in our country? We say that we care so much about children, then why is this such a huge rampant problem? Why has it gotten worse in the past 3 to 4 years too? Why aren't the legacy media and, well, even independent media not really covering the HHS whistleblowers' testimonies that happened last Friday? You feel me? Or last Thursday, one of the two. People like Tara Lee Rodas, who are in the thick of all this shit and literally got kicked out for starting to expose this shit. We should be seeing Save Our Children blasted across all the media, you feel me, so this stuff stops happening, right? But no, it's not happening. Isn't it really peculiar how much our so trustworthy legacy media and government say that they care about children, yet they just allow this shit to happen and don't really talk about it? Just tad bit, right? Like, they're not covering the Senate committee meetings, which are revealing these staggering, shocking, horrid connections to these trafficking rings. But before we get more into that, though, cue intro.
They should be questioned as to why they were not there, right? There's probably a myriad of reasons, but nobody wants to stand up to speak the truth about this unspeakable horror. Nobody wants, it seems, media outlets keep telling us, oh, it's just too dark to talk about. But how are we going to solve this problem if nobody's willing to talk about the truth of what's happening to these children? They are abused, neglected, and trafficked, and we need people to stand up for them. And that's what me and many of the other whistleblowers who you've had on your show are doing. And that's what we will do until these children are rescued.
Yeah, it's just too dark to talk about. It's not like it's a part of their job or anything. How the fuck do you stop it if you don't fucking address the problem and bring it to light so that way it can be solved? Like, it won't get solved if it's not brought up. Plain and fucking simple. It's so cowardly and fucked that shit happened. Oh, you don't want to think about it. Well, how do you think the fucking kids feel, man? So Legacy Media is like, oh, let's just not cover it and pretend it doesn't exist. That'll totally solve the problem. Cognitive dissonance. The best way to save the kids. No, get the fuck out here, though, if you're gonna act like that, you feel me? If you truly want this bullshit to end, then we have to talk about these uncomfortable things and, like, face reality here, you know? So that way we can address how we can solve these problems and bring this to an end. One of the best ways is spreading the information on it. We have to, and push for change so that way this stuff stops happening. Otherwise, this will keep happening, and your taxpayer dollars are going to fund this, you guys. Just so you're aware.
Spent nearly 20 years in public service. And what was the moment that you noticed something was off and you decided to come forward?
Yeah, well, Deb White, who you've had on your show before, when the federal government said we have a crisis at the southern border, which they knew in 2021, they actually put out an all call to all federal employees and said, we need you to leave your job and come help us with the crisis, which Deb and I did. And we were deployed together to the Pomona Fairplex in California. And it only took us 2 weeks in case management, looking into the faces of these children, seeing them scared, seeing them have panic attacks, children having to be put on suicide watch, children screaming for their parents, that we knew something was wrong. I mean, we thought this was a family reunification program. When I said, here I am, send me, I thought I was going to be doing puzzles and playing games with children and then sending them to loving homes. We had no idea that we were about to discover this very organized, cartel-like trafficking scheme. And it was just a horrible thing. And we, in the very beginning of June of 2021, when we began seeing this, we began reporting. And there were people on the site saying, oh my goodness, you shouldn't say anything. They might send you home. I'm like, I don't care if they send me home. These are children. I am going to speak the truth. Deb was speaking the truth. Aaron Stevenson, who you've had on, Carlos Ariano, who you've had on. We've all been trying to tell the truth to save the kids. Yeah, but once you look into the face of a frightened child, some of whom can't even speak Spanish. So my Spanish skills, my husband's from El Salvador, so I speak Spanish, and that was one of the reasons why I mobilized for the mission, was I knew they needed Spanish speakers. But I'm looking into the faces of children who can't even speak Spanish. They speak Mayan dialects. They're indigenous children that they are preying upon from the hills of Guatemala. It's evil. I've never been that close to evil, Clayton. It's evil.
It's like they're being treated like commodities, you guys. These sick people just groom the children and make it seem like they're gonna have such a better life, only to, use and abuse them like they're the newest accessory. It's just like how, the US government has been doing with, ironically draftable aged men along the border as well too, or people in general, you feel me? All the immigrants that are, coming up and stuff like that, half of them, they're often ironically exploited, whether it's for that or they're trying to get more votes, or the most common one, which is cheap labor that a lot of these big corporations sit there and use because it's cheaper. They've been pushing them over the border, you feel me? And it's only really half the time to exploit these people. We talked about that stuff in the Great Replacement video we did a while back, though, if you guys want to check that out. Quality ass shit. It's not your stereotypical stuff, and it talks about how basically all this shit going on at the border and this mass influx of immigrants, you feel me? Illegal immigrants, basically is being used to exploit them and take advantage of them, not really to help them, which it should be to help them. We are all for, immigration here and everything like that. My whole thing is that it needs to basically be where we have the police infrastructure to take care of that, so we don't have these issues. I don't really necessarily think we need a border, but I do understand the premise of why people want it. If we have the police infrastructure that's properly solidified, we wouldn't have to even have that. That's my personal belief on it.
Are coyotes bringing them across the border and they're being dropped at these facilities? How exactly are they arriving in these facilities in the first place before the United States government then traffics them around the other parts of the United States?
Yeah, well, it's a very well organized criminal operation. So I can give you an example of one of our cases out of Texas. There was a Guatemalan living in Texas, and he had children who he was luring from Guatemala, telling them, look, you're making $2.50 a day now, but if you come to the United States, I'm going to pay you $6 an hour. So some of the children are lured, like they believed they were going to be Bill Gates rich, right? Instead of making $2.50 a day, they're more than doubling and tripling their wages. They're like $6 an hour. Wow. So they're lured. Some of them are stolen from their families. Sometimes their families are being sold a bill of goods that, hey, if you send your child to the United States, they're going to be able to send money back to you. And we'll give you money now if you let us take your child. And so sometimes the parents, because again, they live in the hills, many of the children had not been to school, couldn't read or write. And so their families, I can only assume, are the same. They're preying on a very, very vulnerable population to begin with, and then they're bringing them here. Again, it's evil. So the children arrive at our border already knowing who their sponsor is going to be when they get here. If you've seen the news, some people right on the border will show pictures of the children holding up a little piece of paper with the name and a number. So when they present to Border Patrol, our fine Border Patrol take that information as their U.S. point of contact. So that's our Border Patrol. Then they hand them over to HHS, which is where Deb and I were working, and that becomes their sponsor. And that's the number that in 10 to 14 days, come on guys, 10 to 14 days was the goal, was to call that person and say, hey, are you expecting a kid? Hey, let's trade some information over WhatsApp. What's your address? And then we put them on transportation with Carlos, and they're delivered to baggage claim in an airport. So that's how it works.
So I love the fact of the matter that, they say, oh, they're delivered to baggage claim. It's like, That's really messed up. And like, you think about the whole transaction, it's like exchanging of goods. It's really messed up that this stuff's happening. Now, I've been talking about this for a while now, and TikTok took down my post, which I had talking about that too, by the way. The only logical reason why trafficking has gone on so long as it has, you feel me, is simply because it has to have government ties and or, you know, some form of like a insider in the US government. With how much police do look at this stuff and everything like that, it's the only logical conclusion. It really truly is. Like, if the FBI, CIA, etc. are actually doing their jobs fully, like everybody, including like Mayorkas, etc. That fucker's a corrupt piece of shit. He does not do his fucking job correctly at all. He is a mouthpiece of the system and like the elites of the world. We wouldn't have these issues though if they were doing that. It only makes sense for them to have government ties for them to be able to go away with this shit for that long. Now let's look at how much of your taxpayer dollars is going into funding this human trafficking. Plus, well, you know, what Biden's admin response is to this whole issue as well, too. And the HHS whistleblowers' testimonies.
The U.S. government last year spent $6.3 billion to traffic these children. And this year we're on track to spend $7.3 billion to put children in labor slavery, sex slavery, and other unspeakable horrors.
And you've testified to this. The United States government knows about this. They know that these children are being sex trafficked. They know that they're being ferreted around the country on flights, on public transport, on other forms of transportation, being delivered using taxpayer dollars. And then these children essentially disappear. We now, the numbers I've seen, close to 400,000 children. We have no accounting of them. We don't know where they are. And these children just disappear. The administration's response been to your What has the Biden administration's response been to your testimony, to you coming forward at the HHS? What has Alejandro Mayorkas or any of the other cabinet secretaries or the Biden administration said about your blowing the whistle on this?
So since walking me off of my job in September of 21, so when I raised the case of a 13-year-old child going to an MS-13 affiliated gang person, that's when they said, okay, we've had enough of Tara Rodas. We have to get rid of her. So they walked me off the site using security in the middle of the day, make me clean out my desk in front of my peers, walk me off the site. It was terrible.
That should be a huge red flag right there for you guys. The fact of the matter that she brought this up like she's supposed to, and she gets security to escort her out of the building and help her clean out her desk and everything else, that was to embarrass her, you feel me? Like, that is straight fucking manipulative and really fucking corrupt as shit when they do shit like that. She did nothing wrong. She did her job effectively like she was supposed to. And she was told to clear the fuck out because she exposed them for, you know, sending a kid to a international crime organization, a gang, which is not what is supposed to be going on. I just felt like that was something that really should be pointed out there.
Since then, they've had nothing to say to me directly. But when they go to Capitol Hill to testify, for example, Secretary Becerra has said, there are no missing children from our custody.
But there are no missing children from our custody. Gives them away to gangs. Oh, that's not our problem. That's not our problem anymore. We don't know where they're at now. So when they're not in our custody, it's not our problem. Billions of dollars is going into funding this shit, you guys. Your taxpayer dollars is going into funding this. Billions of it. How does that make you feel? Let us know in the comment section down below. It's just really funny that shit's going on. You don't hear about this shit in the mainstream media. Like, it's really fucked up that this shit is fucking happening and should not be happening at all. That's why we need to blow this shit the fuck up. But let me know what your guys' thoughts and opinions are in the comment section down below. I would love to hear them. Appreciate you guys very much. If you made it to this point in the video, go and leave the word exposed in the comment section down below to let me know that you made it to the end and that you guys are part of the 1,000,000% tribe. As usual, though, too, my dudes, if you guys did enjoy, please don't forget to hit that like button, destroy the shit out of that subscribe button. It really does mean a lot to me and also helps us to get this information out to even more people, completely raw and uncensored, and let them know exactly what's going on in the world that the legacy media and shitty corrupt government does not want out and will not really cover that much. And it helps people understand that, you know, they're not crazy for thinking like this and thinking independently, and lets them know it's okay to think independently.
As usual, though, my dudes, let me know what your thoughts and opinions, concerns, etc. are in the comment section down below. I'd love to hear them and what you guys have to think on this particular matter. As usual, though, too, my dudes, if you guys would like, feel free to join us live every Wednesday and Friday from 8:30 to 10:30 p.m. Central Time here on YouTube or over on Twitch, Rumble, etc. You get to join us in the discussions such as this on conspiracy facts, you feel me, and everything the legacy media and our corrupt governments are not telling us, as well as, dark humor memes and playing games such as Pokemon Unite, Fortnite, etc. Whatever really floats the mood, you feel me? And, just vibe out and have a good time with us. But until next time, though, my dudes, please don't forget to live long and prosper, take care and peace, keep it 1,000,000 fucking % real, and as always, fuck the system. I'll see you guys on the flip side. Z-Truck.
My people of this country and we're under attack. They banning us, they cancel us for speaking the facts. If you man enough, come stand with us, take USA back. And every time we pull up, all you're gonna see is America.